Perfect.
Yeah. Well, all right. Like you always say, welcome, welcome, welcome. Number one sports talking D. We ain't like the Falcons, we won't blow the lead. Look, all we talk is who that, who got cut and who back. Rookies in the vets, players you should look at. It's the sports coma, you don't wanna miss it. Got the pre-game, party, post-game statistics. Get a visit from Sway, maybe DC or 5. It's the hottest thing smoking, Big Q and the guys. Go to YouTube Live, make sure you subscribe. Interviews inside the Saints locker room high. Talk to Drew, Jordan, Zach, Payton, New Orleans, who that nation. Best believe when I say we bleed gold and black. Ain't a miracle or rivalry could ever hold us back. No, Beastquake, Bounty Gate, let the truth be told. It's the sports coma, all we know is say Super Bowl. Yeah.
You're listening to the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys on the PRO Media Network.
Who that family? What's going on, fam? What it do, fam? What it do? What it do? What it do? What it do and how it do to the Black and Gold family members in the building. Much love to the Black and Gold family members in the building. Big ups to you. Much love to you. Big ups to you. Much love to you. Good to see you in the chat, family. Big ups to you. Scoob. What up, Scoob? My brother from another mother. Much love to you. Scoob. Shedrick. What up, Shedrick? Shedrick Mosley in the building. What up, fam? Revolt Control. What up, Revolt? Who that to you, my man? Okula. What up, Mokula? Okula McGee in the building. Good to see your family. G-Reed 504 in the building. Who that to your fam? Derek. What up, Derek? Who that to your family? Good to see you. Lionel. How you doing, Lionel? Who that to you in the building, family? Who that to you? Uncle Paul is in the building. What up, Paul? How you doing, family? Much love to you. Pelicans Nola. Who that to your family? Good to see you in the chat. Appreciate you. Welcome to the live stream. Demi. Good to see you, Demi. Who that to you, baby? Dada. Big Dada in the building. Good big ups to my boy Dada in the building as well. Darrell. What up, Darrell? Darrell Freeman. Who that to your family? Good to see you in the chat as well as the family members chime in the live stream. Van Ward. Who that to you, Van? I see your family. Kevin McKnight. Who that to you, Kevin? I see your family. Who that to the Black and Gold family members chiming in on this edition of the Sports Coma. TSC Live 126 episode, 527 of them things. 527 shows, a culmination over 5 years worth of work covering the Black and Gold in the most animated fashion possible. I mean, big ups to all the family members. 504 Easy, I see your family. Who that to you as well. Lewis, how you doing, Lewis? Who that to you chiming in the chat as well. Good to see your family in the chat. Man, I tell you, man, it's been fun. 5 years it's 5 years just done come. Over 500 episodes. And I absolutely enjoyed talking to the Black and Gold family members in the building. Now, in this edition of the Sports Coma family, this is, it is taking on the moniker like so many other titles that we get over time. You know what I'm saying, family? We got the Great Saints Think Tank. That just came. That's just the idea of genius. That's the perfect culmination of what we are. The Great Saints Think Tank. That just came over time. And of course, this one is Saturday Saints Talk, and I think it's excellent. They call it Saturday Saints Talk, Saturday afternoon Saints Talk. Either way, we talking Saints Talks on this one. Who that to all the family members. Good to see you jamming. Who that to your fam. I see you, family. Much love to you. Thank you for joining us on the live stream today, fam. Big ups to you. Much love to you. And like I said on this episode, family, we're going to cover some news items. We're going to basically break down some news items today. I'm going to go over some stories with you guys, cover some news items. And then after that, I'm going to play a couple of interviews from Mickey Loomis, his thought process on the Saints heading into the next phase of things. A very insightful interview put up by John DeShacer. Well, I really like John. He used to work for NOLA.com many moons ago. He's an excellent sideline reporter. And when he talks, it kind of reminds me of Sylvester the Cat. But I do got much love to John DeShacer, man, one of my favorite beat writers. And we'll play an interview as he interviews Mickey Loomis about some of the information. I want to get this to the family members because it's insightful. It answers a lot of questions and a lot of uncertainty heading forward during the pandemic that's been going on in the nation. So I'm also going to play him. I'm going to play a little something by Coach Payton as well as he was being interviewed. We'll play Coach Payton's as a few interesting thoughts that Coach Payton had. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I'm going to play a good bit of it as Coach Payton addressed Emmanuel Sanders and several other topics dealing with the Saints. Good, insightful stuff as well. Then after I finish covering the stories and playing those interviews, I'm going to then open up the phone lines and take calls. So remember, family, if you won't get on today's show, remember, just be ready. When I say I open up the phone line, just be ready to call because we will open up the phone lines on today's show to be able to call. So we're going to drop it down on you. So much love to all the family members joining in the live stream. Please hit the like button. If you aren't a subscriber, please feel free to join the Great Saints Think Tank. Join us. Demi says, Q, do you still have concerns about our pass rushing position? Because I do. I share those concerns as well with you, Demi. You know, you're a Saints genius like so many of the great Saint think tankers are. And that is something that Bob Rose from Sports Illustrated, he's honorary Great Saints Think Tank member, been on the show several times, and he shares that opinion too. He wrote a fantastic article basically lining up all the pass rushers, and I do feel still have concerns about the pass rushing position because even though the Saints did bring some guys to try to fill the position, I still have an uneasiness about it because of Davenport's injury history and the fact that the Saints do not have a solid positional guy behind him. And if the Saints decide to play in a lot of modified nickel, you could see a lot of things happening. So perhaps they throw Zach Barn at the situation, which will be interesting to do because actually I would like them to throw Zach Barn at the position and try to get him on field as much as they can. But the Saints probably will spend a lot of time in the modified nickel, covering 3 wide receiver sets and stuff like that. If that's the case, you can see Zach Barn on the field, who out of all of the other guys, Trey Hendrickson, Noah Spence, Carl Granderson, and Granderson has some skill, don't get me wrong. Granderson can be something big. He has the most potential out of all those guys behind Davenport, in my opinion. That is a defensive end. Now, of course, Zach Barnes, a linebacker who then kind of masquerades as a pass rusher, and he's effective when bending around that edge. So I can see the Saints using several different players in that position to do it. Me, I'm of the mind to just get somebody that knows how to do it. There are so many really talented players out there, and we keep lining them up, and we've been saying this guy, Everson Griffin, for the longest. The Saints had the money to go after him, and they'd chosen to go bottom or basement level Jim Fink style movements to try to address the pass rush situation. Now, Anthony Chiquillo, the guy they picked up from the Pittsburgh Steelers, he's an interesting prospect because he has edge rushing ability too. But it would be so much better if a Marcus Golden or one of these type of guys, even a Clay Matthews, can come in and assist in that position. So I do share your concerns, Demi. Thanks for that question, because I still say it's not solved yet, because you don't know what those rookies going to give you. You don't know what those undrafted guys are going to give you. And if this is a year for a Super Bowl run, which I think it is, you cannot play around with the pass rush. And I keep saying that over and over. And that's the one thing, maybe two things the Saints have left to address. I could say they could use another veteran cornerback. And that in that defensive end, there's guys out there that you can get for cheap. Everybody out there is in fair play, except for Jadeveon Clowney, in my opinion. But we'll just see how it goes. Thank you for the question, Demi. Who that to you? I see Jermaine Scobie. Who that to your family? Torrey Shepard Sr. Who that to your family? I see you, Torrey. Much love to your family. Let's see who else we got here chiming in as well. Van says, Q, how do you feel about the porn sites? Well, according to the Bourbon Street nature of the city, it would fit, but I don't think it will work because the Saints are more concerned about PR, and it probably would be bad PR to have a porn site's address on the Superdome. So I don't, the Saints and you know what, that don't work. That ain't gonna work well together. They're already under scrutiny right now, as far as I'm concerned, dealing with the Catholic Church scandal. So you don't want to compound it. I think they'll find somebody else from that situation. But very interesting to say the least, because they definitely have the money, if anybody has it. All right, thank you for that question, Van. Let's see who else we got here. 504 says we had the pass rusher spot filled with Alex Okafor, and that's right, we did. Alex Okafor. And I kept saying that Alex Okafor was one of those guys that got away from the Saints, and we disrespected, well, not disrespected him, but the Saints couldn't get Alex Okafor. They didn't want to pay that extra money to go after Alex Okafor. You see what I'm saying, family? To go after Alex Okafor, they didn't want to spend what the Chiefs was. The Chiefs gave him a lot of money. They really did. They opened up the bank for him and kind of overpaid for him, and the Saints just right up out of it. They just didn't want to compete with that price. But since then, they have had difficulty filling the spot. And they're trying to do the cheap route or the undrafted jewel route to try to solve the pass rushing position, which is fine if your quarterback had multiple years left. But if he doesn't, solve the damn problem and move on to the next thing. Get a veteran pass rusher that has a history of making it work. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying something out of the realm of possibility or even something remotely untrue or remotely just unfeasible. You have the money to be able to land a guy like Griffin or Golden or Clay Matthews. These guys have a track record of getting to the quarterback. Get these guys on the team. That's the bottom line. We need sacks, man. We need to get to these guys. Thank you for that question, fam. Jermaine says we should be good at linebacker, but I'm still also not comfortable with our pass rush. See, a lot of people feeling the same way that me, Demi, and the rest of the family members are feeling about the pass rush situation. We're just gonna have to wait and see how it shakes out. Smokeless YT says, "Who that big Q we need? We gonna need the river." Smokeless YT, who that to your family? Good to see you. Thank you for subscribing and joining the Great Saints Think Tank. Smokeless, thank you, family. Much love to you, and who that to you. J Crack SZN says, "What up, Q? I just watched some vids of Malcolm Jenkins with the Eagles. Man, we're getting back a really good player. Who that?" Thank you, J Crack, for that comment, family. Much love to you, and who that to you. Thank you for the great comment. Yes, in Malcolm Jenkins, man, and I compared them to, and this is no disrespect to Malcolm Jenkins. This is strictly a football commentary on the field. I compare his signing to when we obtained Darren Sharper the first year, not the second year, but the first year. Darren Sharper is what kind of impact I think he'll bring to the Saints secondary back there, the teaching element to help Marcus Williams develop into a great player that I know that the kid can be. And also the Jenkins boys, period, Janoris and Malcolm bring a lot. And then DJ Swearinger is interesting back as well. So I like that veteran-esque and that veteran mentality back there in the secondary where we most certainly needed it. Von Bell was a good player, but he didn't have the eyesight, the vision, the clairvoyance that Malcolm Jenkins has, and still producing on a high level. Didn't want to leave the Saints the first time around, and I feel good that Coach Payton rectified the situation by making a reunion with Malcolm Jenkins, because we drafted him. He should have never left the Saints. He should have never, but I'm happy that he's back. Thanks for the question, Jay Crack. Appreciate you. Caution, what up, Caution? Who that to you, baby? Good to see you. Joe Gidry, what up, Joe? Who that to your family? Good to see you in the chat. Much love to you, Joe. Debo says, who that to you, Debo? I see you, fam. He says, I need a good Mickey Loomis or Sean Payton ran. We need to shake up Peyton's Prozac shake. In that Minnesota Vikings game last year, he was definitely doubled up on his Prozac shake. He was way too calm and cool in that Minnesota Vikings game. But we're going to play some Mickey Mouse Loomis today. We're going to play some Sean Payton interviews to give the family some insight. Because some real good interviews I got chimed up for the family. I'm going to play momentarily. Chef the Flavor. Who that to you, Chef the Flavor? Who that to your family? Thank you for joining us in the building. Till, what up, Till, the legend, my dog, Till. Who that to you, my dog? Who that to you? Much love to you. Diehard Saints fan, I see your family. Who that to you in the chat as well. So good to see a lot of the Black and Gold family members chiming in the building. Much love to y'all as we get ready to get fired up. Now, like I said, family, Gundam 13, I see your family. Much love to you, Gundam. I see you, baby. Who that to you? Now, like I said, family, we're going to fire it up. And this is some of the stories that we're going to cover. We're going to talk about the NFL mauling or thinking about significant changes to the onside kick rule. And we're going to go over a few other things. We're going to break that story down. We're going to go over it. Also, we're going to talk about the NFL studying helmet face guard that works like a surgical mask. You know, we're in that age when we are very focused on the pandemic, and the fact that we have to be uber and ultra safe out here, taking your vitamin D, getting your vitamin C, and all that kind of gravy stuff, and getting health, taking walks, getting some sunlight to help improve our health. And that's always a good, regardless of what situation we're going through. But this is the world that we living in, and I'm going to read this more. This is an interesting news item. We're also going to go over the interview, like I talked about, Mickey Mouse Loomis and John DeSazier. And like I said earlier in the show, I love John DeSazier. He's a great beat writer. He used to be one of my favorite beat writers when he covered the Saints at NOLA.com or for the Times-Picayune. And he moved over to New Orleans as one of their media people. And he's a really good reporter that always asks really good questions. I got to give it to John DeSazier. Always asks great questions and gets good answers. So he has a piece of an interview I'm going to play where he's talking to Mickey Loomis about the process heading forward. And this is some good information I want the family members to hear. We're going to play some of Mr. DeSazier's interview as well. And we got Mickey Mouse Loomis and John DeSazier when he talks remind me of Sylvester the Cat. So much love to John DeSazier, just picking at him a little bit. And then we're going to go over to the interview with Coach Payton as he was interviewed as well. And he gives his thoughts on several different topics, including Emmanuel Sanders. We're going to play some of it, not all of it, some of this interview. And then, of course, we're going to go over the fact that the Saints did pick up and come to terms. The New Orleans Saints agreed to terms when Anthony Chiquillo, now we did cover this on the previous show some time ago, but I want to cover it again in retrospect and talk about what potential this guy is. Just could be a camp body, or do you see this guy as possibly a guy unseats Craig Robertson? Saints been trying to unseat Craig Robertson for the last 3 years. I don't know if people noticed that or not, but they really been trying to unseat Craig since they signed him here from Cleveland. The first year, the second year, they've been adding people to try to run Craig off, but Craig made a way for himself on special teams. And could this be a situation with Craig Robertson, who's on the last year of his contract anyway? So that might be something interesting. Sport Talk 365, much love, says Witcher. He says, what do you think of the Saints will do with the $10 million in cap space? Well, family, right now they're signing guys like Chiquillo, and I'm not thinking they might make a move on a guy like Golden or Clay Matthews or Everson Griffin. But who knows? You never know, bro, how it will go. But we didn't see a guy like Chiquillo, even though I do recognize the fact that the Saints were going to add more veterans as we get close to the start of the actual football activities. So we'll just have to see. But hopefully it'll be an impactful veteran, because $10 million is a lot of money to have. And perhaps we can get an impactful veteran to come in or something like that. We'll see. But hopefully, we're not done getting an impact guy. Thank you for the question, Sport Talk 365. Who that to you, baby? 504 he says, Q, do we bring Eli Apple back? Bob Rose says yes, he wants to bring him back. And if you think about it, I'm not upset about bringing Eli Apple back, because this is the years of the comeback. To be honest with you, all the Saints have brought back a lot of guys because of the situation of the offseason, where they couldn't really go out and do the type of stuff they wanted to do because of the pandemic situation. So I wouldn't be adverse to bringing Eli Apple back, because in my opinion, he's better than Patrick Robinson and he's better than PJ Williams. I just think so. He has more upside than those guys. So no, I wouldn't be adverse to bringing Eli Apple back to the fold. If you think about it, we brought a lot of guys back to the fold that we didn't think would come back. And Eli Apple, in the capacity where you have Janoris Jenkins and Marshawn Lattimore up there, I think the nickel position would be a position where he could play the nickel position. And you would have probably, in my opinion, the three best cornerbacks there. Of course, then you would have to worry about Chauncey Gardner-Johnson and what happens to Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. And if you bring Eli Apple back, that might stall Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's development at the nickel position if you see him as a nickel. I hope the Saints see him as a nickel. You have a lot of safety options as well, so it'll be interesting if they do that. But we will be stocked nonetheless if you do decide to do that. But I wouldn't be adverse to it. Jeffrey Dyson, who that? Jeffrey, I see your family. Much love to you. Tramal says Payton needs to shut up, talking smack and prove it through his play calling and playoffs. He's just having a little fun. Debo says Mickey Loomis looks like he shops. And most people probably wouldn't even recognize old Mickey. Jermaine says Payton sounded so calm and patient in the interview. He made it sound like he won't make any bad calls. It changes when the draft, when the fire starts. He started getting fired up. Who that to you? Says Adam Kaplan said on his podcast the Saints are interested in Vinny Curry. Okay, thank you for that. Who that? Vinny Curry would be interesting. Former Philadelphia Eagle defensive end who also played for Tampa Bay. Curry is a talented defensive end. He knows how to get to the quarterback. A lot of his issues, he had some injury situation, but Curry is an interesting prospect as well. And if they did bring Curry in, I think he probably would be the third best pass rusher on the team. And that would probably be a good move for him looking at, but we'll see how it goes. So that's not a bad call, Vinny Curry. Thank you for that information. Who that to you, fam. So Kashin does not agree. He don't think we should bring Apple back. Jermaine says, Big Q, think the adult site going to get the naming rights for the Superdome? I don't think so, family. This is the initial stages of it. I don't think the porn site is going to get the call to be to get their name on the dome. I just don't think the Saints want to do that and go after that. I don't think they want that bad press. But anyway, let's fire it off, family. Let's get it started first. With the first news item is NFL malls significant changes to onside kick rule. Now, this article comes over from it's a USA Today, as it talks about the fact that the NFL is considering kickoff rule changes and what would happen rather than, the new kickoff rules have basically taken away the onside kick from the game. And Judy Bautista tweeted Thursday that it's beginning to warm to the NFL is starting to warm to the idea suggested by the Eagles. What would happen is rather they would try to recover a kick after 10 yards, which has become next to impossible under the current rules. The team would have a 4th and 15 play from the kicking team's 25-yard line. And they said, according to Judy Baptista's tweet, that on the 21st, NFL's virtual meeting will vote on potential rule changes, and there is some growing support for Philly's proposal of a 4th and 15 play from the kicking team's 25-yard line in lieu of an onside kick. Could do it max twice a game. Now, the XFL didn't go this far. If a team wishes to run an onside kick, it must indicate this to the official before the play, and teams will be permitted to line up using traditional NFL rules of 10 yards apart from the kicking team. But there were no surprise onside kicks. Also, other rule changes are being thought about as the competition committee's rule proposal which would amend what they're saying, Rule 12, which is to expand defenseless player protection to kick off a punt returners who are in possession of the ball but has not come to avoid or ward off impending contact of an opponent. They're saying to prevent teams from manipulating. Another change would be Rule 14, Section 3, Article 2, to prevent teams from manipulating the game clock by committing multiple dead ball fouls while the clock is running. And then they're saying club plan rules proposals is Eagles threw this one out is to permanent the expansion of automatic replay reviews to include scoring plays, turnovers negated by a foul, and any successful or unsuccessful try attempt. Also by Philadelphia to amend Rule 6, Section 1, Article 1 to provide an alternative to the onside kick that will allow team trailing in the game an opportunity to maintain possession of the ball after scoring the 4th and 15. We just discussed that one. This one thrown in by the Miami Dolphins to amend a rule to provide the option to the defense for the game clock to start on the referee's signal if the defense declines an offensive penalty that occurs late in either half. Another rule presented by the Ravens and the Chargers is to add a booth umpire as an 8th game official to the officiating crew. That's all we need is another blind ass referee. And like I said, none of there's nothing wrong with the rules. The problem is that the problem that I see, honestly speaking, the problem is with the NFL manipulating the referees. That's the problem. That is the problem. Micromanaging and manipulating the referees. That's the problem. And you can change rules and amend rules tied to the referees, but as long as they are allowed to be manipulated, like what happened in the Saints game when the guy was supposed to throw the flag but didn't throw the flag. The guy that was running in was going to throw the flag, but then took his hands off of it. They knew it was a foul. It was a foul, but there was no punishment from the league to the officials, no suspension, no relief, no firing, no taking away of their money. None of that was done. And these guys kept happening because this was something that was controlled higher than the referees. They did not make the call because they weren't allowed to make the call, or they were instructed not to, in my opinion, because they were picking and choosing who they wanted to get there. And that's what's happened when you let the games get close. That's why you can't play games with the referees. We've seen that the entire summation of last year. I covered it ad nauseum. Every year, broke down stats on it and just literally pinpointed it on multiple shows. Go back and listen to them. Go back in the playlist and listen to season 2019 in each game broken down, and the post games as I go over the referees and what they were doing. Documented ad nauseum. The issue is that the league is manipulating the referees in close games to get the outcomes so they can make max money. That's the problem. And that's the reality of this league that generates billions of dollars and is very corrupt. Okay, let's watch football with our eyes open, not closed. Then another rule is the Baltimore Ravens and the Los Angeles Chargers to amend the rule to add a senior technology advisor to the referee to assist an officiating crew. Another stupid thing to do. I won't say it again, but that's the issues and problems that we have, is that if the referees make the calls that they're supposed to call, you wouldn't have to amend rules and add extra officials to the game when the problem is the NFL manipulating the games. And they have total control over the games, just like a point shaver would do, which what Jordan and Magic Johnson was doing when they were playing, and Cot Rod Williams and the rest of these guys was doing. So it's a portion, it's a part of it. Okay, let's move on to the next topic here. And this is directly goes into NFL studying helmets, face guard for helmets. Also a USA article that says that with an eye toward getting back on the field during the pandemic, the NFL is working on a helmet face guard that'll provide the same size protection as a surgical mask. Now, Rich McKay, who heads up the league's competition committee, said the issue was raised during a conference call. I want to really see how somebody's going to play football with a surgical mask on their face. They will probably have to design it where they can allow air to flow, because these guys are going to be running and tackling. So there's going to be a constant a need to have air. I mean, they will be running and it's not just like you're walking and just regular breathing. There was articles I've seen all across the country where people were running with masks on and collapsing and falling down because they basically suffocating themselves. So it would have to be some aspect, and it's just the absolute lunacy of the I mean, I don't want to get off into it. I get up on it on Q with Big Q on Patreon if y'all want to hear my takes on some of this stuff. But it's constantly over and over again. And I hear more and more doctors coming out every day about this stuff. Doctors just literally going at it, and I appreciate them for telling the truth. I really do. A lot of players have played with a clear shield to protect their eyes, says McKay Tuesday during the video conference call with Atlanta. This was be extended even further. Now, Thom Meyer, the medical director of NFL Players Association, said the league engineers and sports equipment company Oakley are testing prototypes of a modified face mask that might contain surgical N95 material. I suggested that we should consider novel and emerging ways to handle the helmets and face masks and the spread of the virus. On the podcast, Adam Schefter says these guys got the bit between their teeth. The work on the face mask is far enough that there will probably be a recommendation to use it when the league year begins. There's no bad ideas at this point. You kind of have to think outside the box. Just because an idea does not mean things are definitely going to happen, but you need to explore it and you need to understand it. Falcons cornerback Isaiah Oliver withheld judgment until he's able to check out the prototype. Quote, I haven't seen anything like it. I will have to look into it to see what it looks like. It also says Oakley is also already contacted by the NFL to provide visors that some players use on their face masks. This company also developed durable eyeglasses for the military that are designed not to fog up. Technology may provide useful in the latest project. So we'll see as more of these coverings will come out and what it will look like and how today's NFL will look. So, I mean, that's just a little information. I thought that was interesting as well to drop upon the family members. Now, let's go to the next topic, family. Let's continue to talk about these issues. And, of course, we'll play a snippet from the interview between John DeSacer and Mickey Mouse Loomis as they talk about the planning going into training camp and what's headed. I'm not going to play all of it, family. I'm going to play just enough for the family members to hear, but this is pretty insightful on what the Saints will look like heading forward. Here's a little bit of it.
Well, look, the first part of it, we were in draft preparation and in the draft, and look, that went about as well as we could hope for, given the conditions. And then, since then, it's been more, project oriented. We've had a couple things with the team. Fortunately for us, this is normally a pretty slow time in the off season outside of the off-season program for the players.
How much time have you all spent figuring out how to approach things going into the future? And is that a pretty fluid situation?
Well, I think that's pretty fluid until we get, a little more direction from the league. Look, we're all in a wait and see mode, see where this virus and how we handle it, where that goes in terms of just the rest of the world. And fortunately, we have some time to do that. And look, I know that at the league office, they're spending a lot of time on different scenarios, but we've got time yet.
Now, the Saints off-season program was canceled. The team won't meet again until training camp. Is there a vision of how that might look in terms of interaction with fans, interaction with players, or again, is that something that remains fluid also?
Yeah, I think that, listen, there's been a lot of discussion both internally and externally about what that's going to look like when we do have training camp. And I would say this, right now we're planning on having our normal training camp. What that looks like in terms of the logistics and what is different from normal, we don't know yet, but we're having discussions about that. Obviously, there's testing issues and then the consequence of a positive test. But again, those discussions are I think primarily being held at the league level, and we'll get direction from them at some point, I know. But we've got time. That's the fortunate thing here.
As of now, we're not quite sure what the protocols might look like, but we've got a fairly decent idea of what the Saints roster will look like. How are you able to shape it during the offseason despite the limitations in terms of face-to-face meetings and workouts?
Yeah, well, look, I think, first of all, we were fortunate that we haven't had a lot of changes. Our coaching staff is intact. The core personnel on our team were under contract. We did have, some things that we needed to do in free agency, and we were able to accomplish a number of those. We were able to get a couple guys re-signed, some guys re-signed that are important to us to keep our team intact. And look, we've got a veteran club, a good mix actually of veteran players and younger players that understand what it takes to be successful, understand what they have to do in an off season in order to come back and be ready to go once this thing gets started. So I think we were fortunate in that we had, less change than most teams, or that a lot of teams had. And so this is probably, I think we're in a little bit of an advantageous position relative to that.
Now, Mickey, the outside free agents the Saints were able to get specifically talked about the program and having spoken to people about the program that the Saints have been able to install, despite not having a chance to see the facility or anyone on the grounds face to face. Yet they still felt comfortable enough with accepting a contract offer from the Saints. What does that say about the program that New Orleans has been able to establish?
Well, look, we've been fortunate enough to have a lot of wins over the last 3 years, and look, players want, I think more than anything else, they want to win.